What's up, guys? Crazy Black 108 here, and I'm back with another video. And as I told you guys this weekend, I was going to tell you when the Rose 11s are going to drop. So, the Rose 11s are going to drop. I know you guys are really getting into that now, right? So, I'll stop playing and being around the bush. But before I tell you the time when they're going to drop the release date, I'm going to give you guys some background information just to, one, cover myself, but two, also just to be, upfront and honest with you guys. So, I've had information about a Rose 11 release stateside for a couple months now, but I didn't want to talk about it because release dates tend to change this far out. Sometimes they'll push it up, sometimes they'll push it back. Also, I only had information about one colorway of the Rose 11s and when their release date is. What this could mean is that this colorway could be released along with a bunch of other colorways at the same time, and it could be the official release date. Or these shoes could be released, at different times, and the first colorways could come out, in a month from now, and this colorway could come out on this date. So, with that being said, I'm going to tell you guys what the original release date was for this shoe. And I'm going to show you which Rose 11 colorway it is. It's this Rose 11 colorway right here I'm putting on screen. And this one is, the style number for this shoe is going to be FV8927-610. Now, when I found this information out, I didn't have 610 as the color code for it. Now, when I found this information out, there was no picture attached to it, but there was a description of the colorway, which involved it being a burgundy, scarlet, and like black colorway, which, as you see, fits the description of this Rose 11. But the other thing too is that from working at a shoe store for a long time, I know that usually, and when it comes to Nike and Adidas both, if they have a colorway coming out that has a style number attached to it that is in the 600s, it's usually a red color code, or it's a red shoe. So, all that being said, I have reason to believe that this Rose 11 colorway is this one that's on screen right now. And as you guys can tell, it's one of the colorways that I personally like a lot, and also it's the colorway that a lot of people would just simply call the Brendas, right? Because that's basically the Brenda colorway of the Rose line that we've been used to seeing. This one, of course, has a little bit of the roses in the outsole, which is cool, so that's pretty dope as well. But that's a shoe. When is that shoe dropping? Originally, the release date for it was set for September 2nd, 2020. September 5th, 2020. Now the release date for it is November 1st, 2020. And if we pull up a calendar right now, we can look and see exactly what day of the week that would be for the guys that want to know. So if it had been dropping on September 5th, originally that would have been a Saturday. Okay, dropping on November 1st puts it on a Sunday. Again, these release dates are subject to change somewhat, but if there's anything that these release dates tell us, it gives us an idea about when the shoe is dropping. Now, I don't remember exactly when I saw this change and switch up happen, but the September release date, if I remember correctly, was originally back when the NBA season had been canceled. There wasn't plans this year to start the season back up, and all those sorts of things due to the coronavirus, and all the stuff going on with that. And then the pushback date that I've gotten now seems to have come after the NBA has, done their relaunch. And then they're also going to be doing, the finishing this season off, and then the new season I think is going to start in December. It'll be like a lockout shortened season, I believe. I could be mistaken with that information, but that's from what I remember looking at and reading about. That's what I've been able to see. And so what this kind of gives me thoughts of with is that the Rose 11s, potentially that November release date is when they will drop more colorways of it. But I'm also willing to, put a little bit of money in a pot that says that September release date is when we'll get our first colorways of the Rose 11s. Instead of this drop in November for what I'm just going to refer to as the Brenda colorway. Because usually if, we look at, the history of it, the Brenda colorway of a Rose shoe usually doesn't come out until a couple colorways in. Whether we're talking when he was a Bull, or we're talking about, matching mainly the Brenda. There was a Brenda Rose 7. Those came out later in the year too. There's a Brenda Rose 8s, but I don't think those released stateside if I remember correctly. But all that information, aside, that the colorway they usually drop is usually either a colorway that's kind of out there, or it's a colorway that coincides with the team he's on, or it's a mixture of those things. So as we saw last year in it was like what, September, late September, early October, they dropped the black and red colorway, the white and yellow colorway, which was the semi-on, the technically like the away bowls one, you could say, that maroon colorway, which could work with the Pistons, well, he wore with the Pistons, the white, red, and blue colorway, which he wore with the Pistons, and then that China colorway, which was the white with the gold and the red and the light blue, which I actually still haven't done a review of on the actual channel. I've shown you it in unboxing. But those all dropped on the same day, which I think was, we got 1, 2, 3, I think it was like 5 colorways, right? And then they've, sporadically have dropped other ones across, across the span of the last year, along with some of them being, exclusives to China, exclusives to overseas is what I should say, and also being like exclusive stateside to, the Water Tower store in Chicago, which some people will be able to find them at outlets, which is, and what I mean by finding them at outlets, talk about the Boardwalk colorway or even the Rose 10 Brenda colorway. So with all that being said, I want to start off there because that's the information that really is not out yet to many people, that many people know about. It's a release date for the Rose 11s. And so now that you guys have that in mind, I will say again, this is what is set in place currently, but there is a chance that it could change or switch up. And if it does change or switch up, from what I can see online, I will let you guys know so that you can be, ready to try to cop pairs, because as we saw last year, unless you were, on those Rose 10s the morning of, you pretty much missed out on most of those colorways because they gave us what, like 3, it appeared at least that the Adidas website had about 4 sizes of, or had like 4 sizes in each size section of a shoe. So like 4 10s, 4 9.5s, 4 9s, and then that's how at least it appeared when you go to the website to order. And then they didn't really necessarily restock and things like that. I also am saying this because last year I had a release date for the Rose 10 Star Wars edition when they were supposed to drop, and that release date then ended up switching up for whatever reason. I wasn't sure. They dropped the entire rest of Star Wars pack, but then the Rose 10s didn't get dropped until a month or so later, but then they dropped them on some websites, like I think Sneakers and stuff, and it's a whole big thing. So, it can be confusing, it can be kind of hard, but as of right now, the Rose 11 and the Brenda colorway is set to drop on November, I gotta look at my date again, 1st. So we'll see if that ends up holding weight. Now, I want to talk again about the Rose 11, just in terms of, we've gotten some more pictures of them as of late. I just kind of wanted to go over that and talk about, the video that, was that D-Rose's wife put on her Instagram. And I also want to kind of go into some of the little details you can see on the shoe itself. So again, I think I talked about this in the past, but the upper, I'm gonna throw this image back up here of the 11 that we were talking about today in particular. The upper looks like it's a Sprint Web upper. It's a new version of Sprint Web though. It's not the old Sprint Web, it's the new version, which would make sense to bring Sprint Web back to the Rose line if you're doing an Adi Zero branding on the shoe. Because technically will these be called the Adi Zero Rose 11s? Who knows, but that's just my kind of 2 cents there. If you look at the way the collar and the tongue is set up, I believe that's going to be all GeoFit padding there. Where you see the Rose 11 there on the heel, which I'll kind of point out to y'all here on the screen, that appears to be GeoFit to me, and same with the tongue and the way it's padded. It reminds me in some ways of the Rose 4 in terms of the tongue and the padding. And what I mean by that is we'll have a Rose 4 right here. If you look at this tongue, this right here, this is GeoFit. This here, these heel pieces and the heel cup, these are both GeoFit that are targeted here in the red. That's GeoFit, and that's meant to make it conform and lock down to your ankle real well. And it would make sense that this shoe also is showing things from the Rose 4 in terms of the design influences, because if you look at the toe box, again, as we talked about in the past videos, this is the exact same toe box structure that's used on the Rose 11s that's originally from the Rose 4s. Now, taking a look at the lacing structure, it looks like, it almost looks like the lacing setup that you could find on, if you want to compare it to other Rose shoes. It's kind of similar to what was on the Rose 8s in my opinion, but I also would say, it's similar to what was on the Rose 7s, which again would also make sense given that the Rose 7s is where the traction is inspired from, which, to show you all again, this is the Rose 7 outsole, and you can compare this to the Rose 11 outsole. You have that same herringbone traction pattern setup, which is dope, in that same way. So the only difference is instead of having this part here where the shank plate is throughout the shoe for the torsional support, you have on the Rose 11s a little bit different implementation of it, which comes from the Adidas Next Level. And that's something else I want to get into. Again, on the Adidas Next Level, you can look at this shoe and you basically can see things that are on this shoe that are very similar to the Rose 11s, whether it's the piece, this external, like, I don't want to say it's like on here, it's like a soft plastic piece that is used to help keep your foot and contain your foot in the footbed, and it's probably going to be the same on there, but it's also probably going to meant to help give you what's similar to like a sprint frame setup for the Rose line. But when you look at that midsole is the same cushion that's here on the Next Levels, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the Light Strike, because I keep on forgetting that name. It's the Light Strike cushioning, and actually it's on the, if you look at the picture on the Rose 11s, it is say right there, Light Strike, and that's the same foam setup that's on these. So truthfully, and you take that into account as well too, then you look at the cut in the outsole. This is the same, so it's a mixture of this torsional setup and these mixed with the outsole of the Rose 11s. So now, all those things considered, guys, you can look at this photo. You know, the Rose 11s to me are looking to be pretty beastly of a shoe. If you saw the video of them on D-Rose's feet, you'd see that, you know, and that's, I'll have that kind of play over and over again here so you guys can see that. You know, they look like they're pretty dope shoe. I mean, honestly, like, it's nice to see the Rose 11s on feet. And they just look pretty dope. I just like the setup. If you look at on the other side of, or the lateral side of the shoe, the way that material looks like is it looks like a fused material compared to the other side being the more of the sprint webby type of material, but who knows. It also looks like they have, at the very slightest, a little bit of an outrigger, and it looks like you sit in the footbed of the shoe, which is nice. So, you know, all those things taken in consideration, guys, you know, the Rose 11s are looking to be a pretty dope shoe, and it's exciting now to have an idea about when we can actually get our hands on them. There is a chance that they will release in China earlier than the US, so, you know, there is a chance you'll be able to look at them earlier like that, and, you know, maybe if Adidas wants to bless me and, you know, send a pair my way sooner than later, I would not be opposed to getting them out there and letting people, you know, take a look at the shoe. So yeah, Rose 11 release date, guys. Look at it for November 1st in this Brenda colorway. And yeah, after that, we'll see, you know, what happens. Or hopefully, I wouldn't mind they came out sooner. If you guys are looking for a place to know if they come out sooner, again, I stressed this in my last video. I'll stress this again. Lay Low Kicks. Follow him on IG. I'll put that down here. I think I've plugged his Instagram more than I plugged my own Instagram, which is kind of funny to me. But he posts Rose content all the time. He's doing a D-Rose like a Madness challenge, like sneaker, or it's like a March Madness D-Rose challenge thing where he's, or competition where he's putting Rose models against each other and seeing what the fans like and vote on. So if you're a huge D-Rose fan, guys, and you really like the Rose model shoes, go check it out. Go and, you know, follow him and, you know, put your votes in. Today was the Rose 3.5 versus the 4s. I personally voted for the 4s because, I mean, I love the 3.5s, don't get me wrong, but I mean, just look at this. I mean, the two tones, I mean, it is cool, man. You know, it's cool. And also, Derek at least played in these for a little bit that we get to see on court. And the 3.5s, we got to see him warming up for games in those. But, you know, it is what it is. So, yeah, I want to thank you guys for putting up with me, putting out that video on a Sunday like that and not actually, you know, giving you all the information right away. And I know I said I would be uploading some Rose shoe reviews in between then, but I just realized that, you know, as the week was going on, I was getting busy with stuff in my job and some stuff going on in my personal life outside of my job, because I, you know, just got to keep work and personal life separate, or at least you try to, right? You know, with all that stuff going on, I realized that I wasn't going to have time to edit those Rose videos together and get them out and give them enough breathing room before I would, you know, talk about the Rose 11s. So, with all that being said, guys, I want to thank you guys for watching. Until next time, guys, peace. Check out me on Instagram at AdamMVPTurner. And again, Lay Low Kicks, if you want to find out when Rose shoes are going to drop, or you just want to see some dope Rose shoe content that's just reposted on there, whether it's the stuff that he takes pictures of or the stuff that he finds and he reposts, hey, man, I'm telling you, that's honestly my favorite Rose account to look at shoe-wise. And even, like, D-Rose related, usually, like, he'll post stuff on there as well too with that, but shoe wise for sure, that's my go-to spot, I would say. at least for looking for stuff. And then if he doesn't have something posted and I find out about it sooner than he does, I usually let him know. Except for this, I'm sorry, my man. I couldn't let you, I had to drop the scoop, man. I had to drop the scoop. So yeah, and you guys, I'll see you around later. Rose reviews will be coming later this week. Also along with some Star Wars shoe reviews the following week. And yeah, until then, guys, peace, and I'll see you around later. Bye.